Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
You're listening to the RAP podcast, the Welsh Regional Rugby Appreciation Pod, where we try to cover all the important issues on and off the field in Welsh regional and national rugby. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, all of that information is at the end, so you'll just have to bear with us and get to that bit. In the meantime, enjoy this week's show. So, hello once again, everybody. Welcome to the RAP podcast, the Welsh Regional Rugby podcast. With me, as always, are Jamie and Reese. How are you, gents?
Very well, thank you. Good, all good. Apart from my back, but yeah, I'm fine.
Which is surprising after we're recording on Sunday night this week. So 24 hours after that game to be okay is quite good going, I think. But so just to explain to everybody that Carwyn hasn't shit out. He went away for the weekend. He went to Cardigan, of all places, going to Cardigan, and he didn't get back in time for tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have a chat with him tomorrow. I'm not sure that he's actually sobered up, in all honesty, because he was messaging through the game, and from you know when you can tell. Like when you're face to face with someone, you can tell when someone's getting hammered. And then Carwyn's messages were just getting more and more aggressive and violent as they were going.
And possibly bizarre. What are you saying? I don't know. What's the context here?
Yeah, but the fact that he was starting to like a couple of people in Cardigan, that kind of worries me. I've never been in that situation. I've never been that drunk where I've enjoyed being in Cardigan, so he must have had a fair few. But I got to be careful what I'm saying, because I got a wedding there next year in April. Yeah, so I've got a wedding in Cardigan next year. So hopefully.
So what's the beef between Pembrokeshire and Cardigan then?
Cardigan's just one of those places, man. It's bizarre. There's just people walking around with like 3 eyes and all sorts of stuff. It's weird, man. I haven't even started drinking yet. So let's start with drink of the week, shall we? Let's start on a nice positive one. Drink of the week. Who wants to go first?
I feel I should own up. After a heavy Friday at a gig and a few drinks for the match and afterwards and stuff like that, I'm on squash this evening, so I'd like to apologise. I'd like to. I'm not. It's. But yes, yeah. So I can't do 2 nights in a row anymore. So I'm a broken man.
I like the fact you put it in a pint glass, so it still looks like it could be some kind of exotic fruit beer. You could have got away with saying that,
I was questioning whether I should just say like it's Strongbow dark fruits or something like, isn't it? But I thought, no, own up, man.
Yeah, let's be honest, I'll get phoned up.
You can't manage the pace anymore.
Jane, what about yourself, man? Is your back allowing you to drink alcohol this evening?
Yes, I am going to drink regardless of my back because I've got a really good one this week, okay?
Are you back on the Magnus Rosé again, are you?
No. Listen to this one. You'll be impressed with this, right?
Well then.
Wales play in Argentina this week. So I have got an Argentinian beer.
Oh.
Jimenez.
Wow, man. Where'd you get it? Was it just in the supermarket?
So I got this from Wally's Food Store in Cardiff. One of my favourite shops because they sell food and drink from all over the world. You know the one, do you, in the arcade, the Wally's Food Store. And they got beers from literally everywhere. It's brilliant. But this is the Argentina. Well? Yeah, Yeah,
I know it.
Yeah, it's a brilliant shop. I love it. So this is Jimenez. This is Argentina's most popular lager. And it's really nice. And they sell it in Wally's in Cardiff. And it just seemed appropriate for the pod. And of course, with Argentina beating England, even more reason to drink, isn't it? And celebrate. So, that's my drink of the week.
So when I was in Cardiff in my university days, we used to have an old bins around the corner from us. And we only used to do it for Eurovision, but we used to try and get as many like beers from Eurovision countries as we could. And while that country was singing, we had to finish those bottles while they were singing. By about the fifth or sixth song, absolutely floored. It was brilliant. You'd buy about 20 bottles, and if you got to 5 or 6 of them, you were doing really well because some of those German ones were strong. So my beer. So you gone proper Argentinian. I gone as Welsh as they can get. A bottle of cool
beer.
This is beer from Evan Evans in Llandilo. And so I didn't realise that this is gluten-free beer, which, in all honesty, if it wasn't on the bottle, I wouldn't know. I don't know what the difference is. Well, I kind of do, because a mate of mine runs a brewery in Neath, and he's gluten intolerant and all of that. So he says he can't touch his own beer, which must be absolute hell for him. So I'm going to have some of that on the pod at some point. But gluten free and tastes exactly the same. Just very, very nice. So well done, Evan Evans Brewery in Llandilo. Well done.
I think I've seen Kuru on tap, eh?
Say again.
I think I've seen Kuru on tap. Have I not? And do they get it on the pulleys?
Well, it says it's an international. It's won international awards and it's quite well known and things like that. So I'm assuming it must be, quite a popular one. Vegan friendly as well. Who would have thought that would be something you'd ever put on a bottle of beer as a selling point? It's vegan
Big
friendly.
Business now. Big business.
Yeah, it's to do with the fish stuff, isn't it? You can't use fish stuff on it, but that's for a different pod, boys. That's for a different pod. Right, so that's the pleasantries over. Let's talk rugby. It's all downhill.
Oh no! Stop in. Here we go.
Oh fucking hell!
It feels more like a support group than a podcast this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, my doctors recommend I do a podcast once a week to deal with my rugby issues.
Well, there were glimmers of hope in our first half, wasn't it? And I thought we were coming back after going 17-0 down, was it? Before we started to score. It was lovely when I was sat in the stadium because, the choir, when they came back into the stands on the lower tier, we were sat right next to them. So they started singing Amor Hyd, Calon Lan, Bread of Heaven, do you mean all sat next to us? So that was lovely. But there was a lot of Kiwis where we were sat as well, sort of thing. So a lot of quiet moments when Wales were on the attack. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about because you went to the game. So I ask you about the atmosphere because on Twitter I saw a few tweets from fans and a lot from Welsh journalists saying the atmosphere was quite flat. That it wasn't very lively. Did you think that as well?
I think as well. I think at internationals, isn't it? You get a lot of and fair play. Everybody come along. Everybody's welcome. It's rugby, isn't it? But is it the day out crowd? I guess I'd call them sort of thing. So when you go to watch on TV sort of week in, week out and stuff like that, you get really sort of behind the team. And this is what I said in another pod, isn't it? That I think my daughters don't like rugby because they just watch their father angry for an hour and a half and going home in a bad mood, like after watching the game. And that's how I get into a game. So I'm watching rugby, and if I saw like an All Black go in from the side of a ruck, and I'm up going, he's in from the side, come on, Wales, come on back. And I'm like this at the side, or having, and it just feels like you have to turn around and go, just me. To the rest of the people around me, so it was pretty flat. It was. They stirred him up at the start, and there were moments when the place erupted, like the tries and stuff like that. But like that sort of keep shouting at the players and come on, boys, come on. There was none of that, and and all the singing started sort of either from the choir by the side of me. Or on the tannoy, which is never used to be that way, did it?
Did you get to put a couple of requests in? Did you lean over to the choir and go like, "Hey boys, have you got any Delilah? Let's have a Delilah." So how did it work then with you and the wife? Because your wife's from New Zealand, so you're in the stadium together in the middle of a whole load of New Zealanders. How does that work, mate?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. I'll not lie, isn't it? And and my wife is lovely with it, sort of thing. But I guess so, I get into a little ball of absolute rage, and I'm just like, don't patronise me. That was good. She's like, so that's why we shake hands at the start and just like all bets are off until the final whistle, and then we were fine. We met a mate of ours. We had our youngest with us. We went over to the Queen's Vaults, which was rammed, as you can imagine, after the match. Had a couple of pints and then went home, But yeah, we managed it. We're both mellowing with age. We're not as intense as we used to be. We went to that one. Remember Wales lost by a point in 2004.
Yeah.
That one. That's the one where we decided not to sit with each other for subsequent games, and that's the way it's been up until very recently. But it's all we're mellowing with age. Yeah.
Did she look at you and go, "Oh, bless! Look at him. He's getting all excited." Love him.
When the Lions played New Zealand after the first test, because the All Blacks won the first test, didn't they? On the last tour to New Zealand. And my wife got up from the couch because we were watching it with some lads in our house, patted me on the head, said, "Well done," and walked out the room. And I was just, my listeners can't see me, but my eyes were like wide open, my fists were clenched, and I was just like, and then the second test, we had another crowd of people over, sort of thing. The final whistle went, and obviously we won that test, didn't we? And everybody's head just slowly turned towards my wife, got up and ran out the room, and we all sort of chased her. Where are you going? Where are you going? It's fun.
I saw quite a few comments as well, same as you, G. But normally you can judge the crowd and the game based on the anthem, and I thought the anthem was actually quite strong. I thought, you can tell there's a bit of an atmosphere building. Yeah. There's a bit of and then watching it on Prime, so we did the anthems, and the New Zealand anthem is poor. And you're going, how much longer? You're like, oh, there's nothing in this, boys. And then we do ours, and we give it some welly, and like, right, come on. And then they did the haka, and it's like everybody buggered off for a hot dog. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I don't know. Normally it's a crescendo where you get to that first kick, and then on Prime, in between the haka and kickoff, they did a bloody advert break.
You do that on some of the different sides.
Yeah. And, you're getting really up for this. I'm shouting at the dog. The wife went to her mother's. The wife took my daughter and went to her mother's. She's like, I'm not staying here for this. And off she went to her mother's. So there's just me and the dogs. The dogs are asleep. And I go, yeah, come on. And looking around and there's nobody there. Not even the dogs are reacting. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And it just, and would you like to buy some Sage software? No, I want to watch the game. Put the fucking game back on, So I thought from the anthems, this is going to be massive. We're going to come out all guns firing. We're going to hit them in that first 15, 20 minutes, and we're going to take them apart, sort of thing. And it just never seemed to get going.
There seemed to be no plan, but the All Black defence was up to the task, apart from the the 2 tries that they let in, isn't it? And it didn't look like every time we were running, and we pass out to the backs or keep it to the forward with so pods for Roland's running up and stuff like that. But we just stayed like stationary, or went backwards a little bit, or went forwards a little bit, and stuff like that. So they were handling us really well, and then every time they had the ball, they looked dangerous, didn't they? And they didn't have it for that long, but I think the stats show we're pretty even with how much possession we had and territory and they had, but they scored 8 tries, man.
That's it, isn't it? You can have all the possession and territory, but it's what you actually do with it that counts. And 8 tries to 2, it tells its own story, doesn't it? I mean, Tom Shankland said after the game, it was a good performance by Wales. I can only assume he's on crack, because I did not. If he had said some aspects of that performance was good, I would agree. Yeah. But I don't know how he came to that conclusion. The thing is, I said on Twitter after the game that I couldn't decide whether Wales made New Zealand look that good or whether New Zealand were that good. And I do think it was a combination of both. I'd agree. That because I think it is a little bit short-sighted to just go, oh, well, Wales were completely shit, without giving any sort of credit to the All Blacks, because I thought the All Blacks were excellent. I mean, Adi Sevilla had a terrific game. He's probably is.
Player. What?
There's a big debate now at the moment, isn't it? Who's the best player in the world? And his name is getting mentioned quite a lot. I thought he was terrific, and I feel really sorry for Nicky Smith, because he made him look like an absolute tit with that dummy, didn't he? Poor bloke.
And it wasn't even like
it was so obvious.
Way!
It was so high. It was so obvious, so high in the air, and I just thought, well, come on, mate. And he made him look like an absolute tit. Yeah, and then when
he was doing it, do you think he went woo like that, as just to take the piss a bit more? Woo! There you go, fella, and I'm off and gone.
And there was that moment, wasn't there, when he sort of tried to do a celebration, doing that bombing over the line, and Will Rowlands very neatly turned him over. And Sam Warburton was convinced he turned him over. I was like, no, he didn't. But no, I thought New Zealand were really good. I thought they were aggressive. They did a hell of a number on our pack. Our front 5 just felt the shit, really.
The breakdown was just, we were absolutely outclassed at the breakdown.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we wouldn't be like, I thought with Reffel and having those 2 sevens didn't really work at all, did it?
No, I think the back row balance wasn't there. And I have to admit, when the team came out, I liked the look of the back row. I did. But on reflection, in hindsight, I think it was the wrong selection, because, I mean, Tipperick, I thought there was a real mixed bag performance from Tipperick, because he did put in a lot of tackles. He did put in a good shift, but he also missed some tackles. And, some of them led to tries, and he was getting bumped off. He just looked sort of a little bit powder puff and undercooked. And I think that was the problem with Wales yesterday. There were players who were undercooked, and they had those who were sort of under par. There was a lot of under par performances, like Tommy Reffel. I'm a big fan of Tommy Reffel. Had a great tour in South Africa.
Yeah.
That was his worst game for Wales, I'm afraid. Really disappointed.
Didn't see him, did you? He just wasn't anywhere, or the places you normally see him. He just wasn't there.
To be fair, he was nullified by New Zealand. I get that, but it was a disappointing performance. I thought Gareth Thomas was awful. And again, I don't want to put too much blame on him, because he's only had 52 minutes in 4 months or something stupid. He was way off the pace, Gareth Thomas. Yeah. I thought the front row, apart from Ken Owens, who was one of our best players, I thought the front row really struggled. Our pack just got murdered, didn't it? When you're on the back foot, there are people on social media complaining about Priestland, and it's like, well, look, mate, if you haven't got a platform, if your pack is getting beaten up, then what do you expect him to do? So it all started up front. I just thought the power of New Zealand, and you got to give them credit. Yes, Wales were poor. What was it? 24 missed tackles. That's not good enough.
24 missed tackles. Absolutely.
That's simply not good enough. Gethin Jenkins won't be happy with that. I mean, at this level now, 24 missed tackles just simply isn't good enough. It was really disappointing, wasn't it?
One of the questions that we did have, so after full time, I put a thing out, what's your 3-word reactions? And some people get that and they go, good first half, or this, that, same old. And then one guy replied with an essay. So I don't think he grasped the concept of the 3 words reaction. But what he was saying was, we keep putting out teams and players who, like you were just saying, Jim, haven't played for God knows how long, where you've got players who are, got players sitting at home watching that game who are actually on good form. And, is that a coaching thing? Is that a culture thing? Are we missing something that, are we stuck in a rut of putting players in because they turn in good figures in the gym or whatever, without actually looking at it and going, actually, we need something a bit more than he's good in the gym. Do you know what I mean? Because like you say, there's a fitness test, and then there's, are you game ready? Yeah. You can go in the gym and you can
match fitness is different, isn't it?
Yeah. But you can do a set of Broncos and you can, squat a couple of things or whatever. But being, like I say, sharp and being on it and being, there's something there that when you play 2 or 3 games, you get into a rhythm, you get into a flow. And, Wales has always been a team that grows as a tournament kind of goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
True. I think there's some of that where we just need to be in that place a bit sooner. Yeah, we need to start on game 3 and work from game 3 onwards, rather than, looking after players for 2 weeks, doing a lot of training, but there's got to be something there, because we're definitely missing something, aren't we? To turn that.
But what I would say though, you talk about the players not being 100%, but Wales have been doing this for years, right? Warren Gatland always did it. How many times do we see Gatland chuck players in, key players who had barely played any rugby, straight into the start 15, and there were occasions where it worked and it came off. On this occasion, it didn't work. Tippett clearly wasn't fit. Gareth Anscombe clearly wasn't fit. Gareth Thomas clearly. You could just see there was a lethargic feel about it.
I wonder how much disruption that you said about Gareth Anscombe, but he's been training for 2 weeks at 10 and then moved suddenly to fullback. And I know he started a fullback with the Chiefs and all that, didn't he? But but just how much disruption that brought in, and Priestland would have trained there, wouldn't he? And Costello, but how much disruption that brought just before game time, when you're facing the All Blacks, and the aggression wasn't there either. Not just the intensity, but the aggression, the breakdown, the aggression in defence. Like, they were flying up at us, and we were not doing the same to them. And when you've got big runners like Caleb Clark running at you, you need to be up in his face and breaking down the ground he's got to run on.
But absolutely, we were off the pace, weren't we? Wales were off the pace. That's the fact of the matter.
That comes from that front 3. Yeah, you start with that front 3, and if that front 3 are putting, if your front 3 are giving their front 3 something to think about, then you can start moving back through the pack and worry about what they're doing. Our front 3, with the exception of Ken Owens, Tom Francis and Gareth Thomas did very, very little with the ball in hand or in defence. And I'm not criticising those guys. I'm criticising the system that's developed those guys, because there's nobody underneath them that's sitting there going like, oh, if we had so and so in the team. Do you know what I mean? There's nobody saying, when we used to have the hairy scaries, Adam Jones and Duncan Jones. Yeah. Now, when those two were on the pitch, Yeah, one, you could take the piss out of their hair for a good 80 minutes. You were sorted, you were lovely. But actually, come scrum time and come rucks and mauls, not much was getting past those two. Yeah. And if they happen to have a little bit of a run with the ball during the game, lovely jubbly. But they did several key parts of that game really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think our front row is lacking that bit of ferocity, that bit of something that says, actually, every time we have a scrum, I'm going to twist your neck round, shove it up your arse and pull it out through your belly button. Yeah.
And Adam Jones was a brilliant proponent of that, isn't it? Absolutely smashing his opposition prop.
But talking about the front row, though, there is an argument that I think when you look back now, I think Nicky Smith probably should have started. When you saw how off the pace Gareth Thomas was, and Nicky Smith's been in really good form for the Ospreys, you kind of think, well, maybe he should have started. And then you look at the tight end and you think, well, are you going to play Dylan Lewis in front of Thomas Francis? No, because Thomas Francis is a better player. But again, he just put in a very disappointing performance. So, I think we have got to look at the selection. Yes, some players were off the pace, but I do think we need to look back now and think, maybe we should have had Lydiate in the back row to give a bit of balance. Maybe Nicky Smith should have started. But at the time, we all looked at the team and thought, oh, this is really good, wasn't it? But we did. We were very positive. Even I was positive.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I do think
even after the first half, the halftime score was 22-13, and we came out the start of the second half and took a penalty 22-16. We were 7 points away, and the momentum was with us. So, at half time, I didn't see many people calling for Wayne Pivac to be sacked. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It wasn't a great performance, but it was competitive. And then the second half just didn't seem to, first half started slowly for us, but we got back into the game. We built momentum. When we were running at wingers, and the obvious tactic you can see was to run it outside of 13. And I'm willing to bet that if Dyer had been at fullback coming into the line, and running on the outside of George North, that ball would have gone a bit more. But like you say, Anscombe's practiced at 10 for 2 weeks, and Anscombe's not a natural 15, same as Priestland. They're not natural 15s. They play there because they've got a certain skill set. But actually, you need to have a bit of foresight in your head to come into the line, which people like Sanjay and Halfpenny do. That that sharpness was missing, and that's what I think. We'd started to create space, but then we weren't finishing it because we were just off the pace a little bit. And at international level, particularly against the All Blacks, if you're off the pace a little, well, you're going to push it 50 points. And
because they're still the All Blacks, aren't they? They're still Aaron Smith. They're still Caleb Clark. They're still doing like a Whitelock, and it's.
It is worth remembering, though. It is worth remembering when Tipperick scored that try, which I thought looked a bit iffy. I thought he didn't really have control of that ball. Yeah. Did you think that? Because I thought, oh, hang on. But anyway,
that wasn't a try.
Yeah.
I was winding my wife up by going, nope, it's official. He scored it, It's scored it, It's a try.
But after he scored, Wales were only 6 points down, mind. We were still in the game. That was 52 minutes. Wales were still in it. But of course, we've seen it so many times with Wales against New Zealand and
he's going to say it. He's going to say it.
Hemisphere.
God, he's going to say it. Go on, say it,
for the full 80, haven't you?
No, he's going to shit the bed, man. You're going to shit the bed.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say you got to play for the full 80. But they just got blown away in the last 20 minutes. And we've seen it so many times with Wales that they can't put in that 80-minute performance. And those last 20 minutes, it was just depressing to watch. And I think what really annoyed me, we weren't making New Zealand work hard for their points, were we? There was times where it just looked all too easy. Yeah. Whatever happened to our defence, the Sean Edwards style defence, it was just so disappointing, the ease in which they got into our 22. And you can't fault New Zealand for being clinical, because that's one thing they definitely were. Every time they went into our 22, they pretty much scored, didn't they? They just looked so dangerous. Whereas we went into their 22, we huffed and we puffed, and I thought our attack was really shapeless, actually.
So, this is one of the other questions. So we had a question that got emailed in by Paul. Hello, Paul, if you're listening. I know you're listening because he said he was going to listen. So he questioned some of the coaches, particularly. So Paul questioned, Humphreys up front. Yeah. We've gone downhill since McBride. Everybody looks at Sean Edwards leaving as the key coaching appointment. How much of an influence has Jonathan Humphreys have in terms of we haven't progressed from where we were 5 years ago, sort of thing?
I tell you what is interesting, though, right? McBride and Howley, as we all know, they used to get a lot of stick from fans in Wales. I felt at times they were underappreciated, especially Rob Howley, right? I actually think now, their stock has risen a little bit, actually, because I actually think Rob Howley done more with our attack than what Stephen Jones has done. And I think Robert McBride has proven to be a far better forwards coach than the one we got now, Jonathan Humphreys. If I'm being honest, I think their stock has risen. So
I'd agree he's a better forwards coach. But one thing I'll say is, the pack that went to South Africa played with aggression, verve, and and was smashing at the breakdown and stuff. And that's what we noticed, Raphael, wasn't it?
It's not consistent, is it?
Sorry,
it's the consistency. That's the problem.
So
it's like one
there,
game,
isn't it? So it's hard to say off the back of these like past games. But when I see, I'm forgetting names now, but the Cardiff prop who came on in the second half.
But Dylan
Lewis. Thank you very much. Yeah, he was brilliant at the breakdown in South Africa, like Jimmy and Mardu, and stood up to their front rows. Jimmy, and the way, the manner in which our front row was disseminated, especially in the second half on Saturday, was. It was horrible.
It's not consistent, is it? That's the issue I have. It's not consistent. There are some games where our set piece looks solid, and then there's other times, like yesterday, it just falls to shit. It's never consistent. So that's an issue that the coaching staff have got to figure out.
But is that coaching and the way things are being coached and how they're being coached, or is that players and other factors coming into it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
how much influence? Well, when they go over, I think
coaching's got to take something, isn't it? Coaching's got to take up some of the slack, hasn't it? Because it's going to give you your attacking plan, it's going to give you your defensive plan, it's going to choose the players that come in and why they're there, and the jobs that they're given. So if they're not on song, then that consistency is not going to be there, is it? With the because we've all clearly watched Wales and our sides play over years and years, and consistency's never been a massive thing for Welsh rugby, isn't it? You'll have the side that played Fiji in 2007 on paper looked a good side, isn't it? But so yeah, I think coaching has got to take up some of the slack, and possibly Pivac's got some great ideas and great attacking ideas, but sometimes I didn't think we had the plan B. So they're right up in our faces. They're absolutely destroying our attack, or our attack is ineffective against us. We didn't there's no chips. The general point was about the coaching and about that's got to take up some of the slack and possibly the positives that Pivac brings. We have had some great games. Getting South Africa being a key one. Do you remember the game against England a few seasons ago when the crowd still weren't in, and everybody thought they were going to be a 60-pointer, and we ended up, we lost, but it was a good, cracking game in the end, sort of thing. Yeah. So there's something there, isn't there? There's something there that he's bringing, but it's not there all the time.
But see, I said this when he took over. When he took over as coach, I was like, nah, don't. Not that he's not a good coach, yeah, but anything he does will be slated because he's come from a region, and so he's only ever going to have 25% of the support, if that. Yeah, there'll be some guys inside the Scarlets going, no, I didn't rate him anyway, still, even though he delivered a championship victory. Yeah, there are still people inside the Scarlets going, I didn't rate him. So, and I think this is why when they went outside, they took in, Gatland came from outside, Graham Henry came from outside, Steve Hansen outside. There was no baggage with them. So when they came and they said, "Oh, I'm putting 12 Ospreys on the pitch for my first game," everyone went, "Oh, okay, fair enough. That's what you're doing. They're the guys that are playing well. He's got a system, whatever." And if Pivac had come in and put 12 Scarlets on the pitch in his first game, there'd have been absolute uproar. But you know what I mean? It wouldn't have, even though at the time Scarlets were all singing or dancing, just ripping Irish sides apart for fun. It wouldn't have been accepted. And we're still in it. I still see it on social media on Saturday. You say the wife didn't come back till late. The wife obviously saw the wife saw the result and went, "I might give him another hour." So, so I was looking on social media, and you can still see these posts. Pivac's a Scarlet. Or he only ever puts, I think he only put 3 Scarlets on the pitch at any one time on Saturday. So there's this mentality within Welsh supporters of we've got to find a way of shooting ourselves in the foot. We're not comfortable in going, do you know what? A couple of tweaks here and a couple of tweaks there, and we might have something. Yeah, we've got to go, no, there we go, right, there's my left foot gone, there's my right foot, right, now we're in a good place. Now let's really fuck this up 12 months out from a World Cup. Let's see what we can rip ourselves a new arsehole and see what we can do. And, it's hard enough doing that job as it is without having the people who are meant to be your supporters having a go at you that way.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Lee, but I think the fact is that Pivac still hasn't won over the Welsh rugby public, right? Even though he won the Six Nations, he still didn't win over people. And you do wonder what it'll take for him to fully win over the supporters, And he's under a lot of pressure now. I mean, if we have a poor autumn, there's a lot of people now saying he's got to be sacked. And that's only going to intensify the longer the Wales keep on losing. But what I will say is this: I made this point on Twitter today, right? If the WRU feel that they're not going to get any better or improvement in the Pivac, I think they should look to get a replacement, because you see people saying, "Oh, it's too late to get rid of Pivac now, just before World Cup." And that argument holds no water for me, because we saw in 2014, Michael Cheika took over Australia less than a year before the World Cup. He took over and they got to a World Cup final. So it can be done, but Pivac has really got to start winning games, because the pressure is just going to intensify. And the WRU are going to come in for more criticism. But, he needs to start winning over the Welsh rugby public. And the only way to do that is to keep winning games. And, we could talk about Joff and Humphries being under pressure. They're all under pressure, the coaches, and they've got to have a good autumn. Because if we only end up beating Georgia this autumn, well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough,
So, but I think this. Go on, Rhys. Go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just thinking, because what the point you were making about is the tribalism of Welsh rugby, isn't it? The fact that we sit around the table and there is, we're given the opportunity, we all take a little snipe at each other's sides, good natured and banter and what have you, isn't it? But that is an undercurrent of Welsh rugby, isn't it? I'm not going to have the success if it's his success and stuff like that. And I think you were alluding to that.
Yeah, but people do get annoyed with Pivac with his selection as well, Matt.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He's confused a lot of people with, the selection, not picking players in form. So I think Pivac has brought a lot of these problems and criticism upon himself, actually. I'm not saying we should get rid of him, but I do think now he's got to start winning over the Welsh rugby public, especially before the World Cup, because if he can't do that, then I don't see how we can move forward.
No, absolutely. And picking out the form players and stuff like that. And that's my point. And that's what Lee was alluding to, is the fact that exists, that there's that culture in Welsh rugby that comes to the fore. But you're saying, Jamie, isn't it? It's the fact that, that might be there, but his performances and his results tell a story, isn't it? About
absolutely, yeah.
At the top of
see, for me, this goes deeper and further back. Yeah. So when Gatland came in, you look at the two different styles of game that they play. Yeah, Pivac is a very heads up, play what's in front of you. Yeah, it's players need to be highly skilled. They need to think about what's in front of them, and they need to play what's there. Yeah, controlled chaos. Don't let the opposition get into any kind of system and do what's not expected. Yeah, and you can see that players are not comfortable playing with that kind of game because they kind of stand there looking and going, and that's because the skill level isn't there. Yeah, what Gatland did was he papered over the cracks. Yeah, he gave us success, but that success came at a price. And the price is that we've developed a generation of players who can't play a game that isn't structured. That's why when Gatland came in and he put certain structures in place and he said, you do this, you do this, you do this. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I could do that. And at every point on the pitch, there was a plan for what's going to happen and what's going to happen next. Yeah, the Gatland plan was to give the opposition the ball for 75% of the game. Yeah, that was the Gatland plan. And then when we had the ball, to hold the ball for 3 minutes before we looked at breaking the line. Yeah, that was the Gatland plan. So that's not exciting rugby. That's not Welsh rugby. It worked because it was such a simple, boring plan. Yeah, one up hit, ruck, one up hit, ruck, one up hit, and we were turning. We started off building on 7, 8, 9 phases. At the end of the Gatland reign, we were used to building 15, 16, 20, 25 phases. That Corey Hill try against England.
Yeah, against England. Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, that was 28 phases or something like that over a 4.5 minute period. Yeah, so that's the kind of game that Gatland created and put in, and it made life really easy for players because they didn't need to think. They needed to be fit, they needed to be strong, and they needed to understand, I tell you to do this, you go do it. Yeah, and that's where
you say about paper over the cracks. I think that's right to a certain degree, isn't it? But he was using the resources he had available to him, but he was also using the likes of Shane. And those players are still coming through. I mean, one of the success stories on Saturday was Rio. His try was really well taken, and I thought, when he had the ball, he was really running at the players as we expected him to do. And he wasn't just Caleb Clark, who's marking wasn't just twice the size; he was 3 times the size of Rio, but he had a good go at it. So Keelan Giles, Costello, Jared Evans, and stuff like that. I'm not saying all these are brilliant, but they play what's in front of you players, aren't they? So there's no good, I'd say.
But the point is we've had this bit for, I don't know, for as long as I've been playing, 15, 20, 30 years maybe, where we've got a good enough front 15. Yeah, if we've got all 15 players there, lovely jubbly. Yeah. But below that, it starts to drop away really, really quickly. So we got players that we used to play in a very structured, simple, basic way that, in all honesty, Ireland copied, did really, really well. Yeah, Ireland copied is a kick, chase, put pressure, lovely jubbly, right? Kick, chase, put pressure, pin it to the corner, make them play from their own 22. Yeah, that's where Ireland built their structure. But what Ireland then did, and this is why I say it's papering over cracks, Ireland have got a system to bring through player after player after player every year. Yeah, so you take Sexton now. If Ireland lose Sexton, that's a massive, massive loss to them. But they've got a choice of 4 players underneath there who can probably fill that role. Yeah, there's 4 players that one of them doesn't even play 10 for Leinster. He plays 15 for Leinster, but they put him in at 10 for Ireland. And that's kind of my point, that we don't have that system in place. And I think it runs deeper. Yeah, I think it's deeper than rugby. I think it's deeper than just that top line bit. I think it's a Wales-wide thing. Where I saw somebody say today that, the game of rugby in Wales is built on the industrial heartlands, and those industrial heartlands have gone. Yeah, the game in England is based on public schoolboys and high income people. That's still there. That still exists, and you can see that with the adverts that they run on Prime are all targeted at high-end business owners. It's BMW, it's Jaguar, it's Sage. Do you know what I mean? It's not, do you want to shop at Lidl? Yeah. And that's what I mean about that structure is still in place for England. The structure in Ireland has always been in place, where they have 7 or 8 elite schools, 3 of them probably the top elite schools in Europe, but they're all filtered through there, and then they come straight through there into an Irish system, and they've got a really strong Irish system. We don't. We don't. Did you hear?
Did you hear Wayne Pivac's comments at his post-match presser? He was talking about the All Blacks. He was saying, look, they battled hard and they spent a lot of time together. They're match ready coming into this. And he said something, and it's really stuck with me now, because I think it's an extraordinary thing. He said, with South Africa, we had a good month building up to that, as our clubs have been knocked out of competitions early. That does help. The more time you have together, and New Zealand had a game last week. Now, I think that's a damning indictment of Welsh rugby, because what Pivac is alluding to, he's basically saying our Welsh teams underperforming in Europe is now an advantage to Wales for more prep time. And I just think that really does sum up the sad state of Welsh rugby, to think that Welsh clubs underperforming is now seen as an advantage to Wales. Don't you think that's pretty stark?
Yeah. But that's what I mean by papering over the cracks, mate. Is we can produce 15 players at the top level, but we can't produce anything under that. Those front 3. If Ken Owens wasn't there on Saturday, Elias came on for him, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
I was on my 5th pint by then. I'd started on the Christmas beer. I'd finished the crisps that I had by 20 minutes. I was already 2 packs of Pringles down by the time Elias came on. Yeah. So when he comes on, you don't see those runs. You don't see. Do you know what I mean? Ken is off the park because it's not there. Yeah. And that's what I mean by we don't have that. There's nobody there challenging Ken. There's nobody there. There's what's his name at the Ospreys? Dewi Lake. Yeah.
Bradley Roberts. Don't forget Mike Bradley.
Yeah.
But that's only just been a recent thing. Yeah. Dewi Lake and Bradley Roberts has been a recent thing. We go, oh, actually, yeah. There's maybe a couple now challenging Ken. Yeah. I don't see Elias as challenging Ken. Who's challenging for props? Yeah, you look at the teams that we selected. We pretty much had 10 or 11 players all the same, not because these are the guys who are performing really, really well, but because these are the guys who else you're going to put in there.
I tell you where is a problem. Is the fullback position. Now that is one area that we really haven't developed a lot. We're relying on Lee Halfpenny, who, let's be honest now, is probably, he's injury prone, he's aging, he pulls out. And then we're putting Gareth Anscombe there, who's, injury prone and not fully fit. Who are the young fullbacks coming up through now? Why aren't we giving them their opportunities? I think that's one position that's quite worrying, actually. Because I'm sure at some stage during this order, we're going to see Louis V. Sammet, a fullback, or Josh Adams. And they're makeshift options, Yeah. That's all they are. They're going to be makeshift.
But Rio Dyer started at fullback,
But Rio Dyer started at fullback. I know that, but he's not an out-and-out. He's not an out-and-out fullback. What I'm saying is, where are these young fullbacks coming through the regions? Where are they? They're the players now we need to develop.
I agree with you, mate. But I'm going to stop it there and start talking about Argentina, because if I start on where are these players and what's happening at academy and what's happening at next level below that, fuck me, we'd be here till about Thursday, yeah, because I've got like reams and reams of shit, and I've only got 1 pint of beer, so that could be a long conversation that we could have. So we'll park that one there till next week, and next week I'll get a good couple of pints in, and then we'll start. We'll start, right? I'll start talking. You boys can go off and watch EastEnders or something, yeah? And then I'll give you the nod when I've come down off the ceiling, and then we'll all pitch back in then, right? That's what we'll do next week.
We'll do some homework about who's coming through. There's a couple of Cardiff coming through, but they're really young at the moment. You know, really, like Winnett is one, and he played for... against the Harlequins when all our side was stuck in South Africa, and he scored the first try. Like, he looks handy, and he's starting to get on the bench, like, you know. But
well, when we kick off next week,
Premiership as well.
When we start next week, we'll have a chat about a guy called Josh Hathaway. Yeah, and I'll run you through that system next week and how he's a prime example of what's wrong with Welsh rugby at the minute. Okay, so Scarlet's boy just signed for Gloucester, and here's one I've made earlier. We're going to park it for next week. We'll talk about that next week. So let's talk about Argentina. Let's talk about Jamie's beer. What are we expecting? What would we like to see against Argentina? Let's start with the easy one. Who do we drop? Who do we bring in?
One person I definitely want to keep, and I'm not being biased, is Rio. Because I thought he had a really, really good debut. I mean, that first phase try was fantastic, wasn't it? And he finished it so well. And what a moment for him and his family. You know, he was crying. Tears at the anthem. I thought he did really, really well. And there was that try, with Jody Barrett. He got up ahead of him. But I'm not going to put any blame on Rio for that, because when you're running at speed, you can get a higher jump on. And he's a big guy, Jody Barrett. So, I don't think many players would have stopped him from scoring in that position. So I saw a couple of sarky comments about, Rio should have done better there, and he had a howler. No, he didn't. It was just one of those things,
6'3", 6'4".
He's a big guy, yeah. And he was running at speed.
Apart from, I think they're all quite big lads.
When you're running at speed, you can get a higher jump. When you're static, it's harder, isn't it? And like I said, I don't think there'd be many wingers or anyone going to stop that try, to be honest. So I'm not going to put any blame on Rio for that. I thought he looked hungry. He didn't look out of place. Because there is talk about Alex Cuthbert possibly returning. And I don't think he should be parachuted straight into that back three. But if he is, then, dare I say it, as much as I like him, I don't think Louis Rees-Zammit had a particularly good game. And he was turned inside out for one of those tries, wasn't he? I can't remember who scored. I think it was Aaron Smith. So, I want Rio to keep his place. And Warren Gatlin did say on Amazon he hoped to see more of Rio in the autumn. But we do need to make changes. We've got to look at the back row. We've got to look at the front row. And I don't want us to rip up the book and start again, but we have got to start looking at, a bit more balance to the side, I think. Because Argentina are very dangerous. So they've beaten England,
you've seen them
at Twickenham. Yeah, they've beaten the All Blacks in New Zealand and they've beaten England, Twickenham. They can come to Cardiff and they can beat Wales. And we know that because that's what they did only a couple of years ago, So they'll fancy their chances against us.
It'll be a different sort of game that we'll, if we are on song and we do bring back the aggression intensity that, we know that the side can produce, it'll be a different game than what England can give them, if you see what I mean. Like, isn't it? The sides are just like playing each other. Like, we seem to like playing South Africa, isn't it? But we can never play against New Zealand, isn't it? There's different sort of games that go against our own. And I think I'm still quite hopeful about the game against Argentina. One thing I just want to bring up, something that happened in the game that I thought Tompkins was playing well in the first half.
He was excellent. He was good.
He was really soft hands, and he was looking around for everything. I thought, and they took him off and kept North on, and I thought that was a bit perplexing. But I was in the States.
Agree.
But and I'd like to see Tompkins back in that midfield sort of thing, because I think he got the straight.
Well, I don't know why he was taken off. I don't know if it was because he picked up a knock, but if he didn't, I thought it was strange because I thought Tompkins had a very good game, actually.
Yeah,
I would say our 3 best players were Ken Owens, Talupe Faletau. I know Carwyn said in the WhatsApp group, he was having a bad game. He did miss a couple of tackles. He gave away a couple of penalties. But actually, I thought Talupe Faletau was one of our best players, along with Nick Tompkins. Those were my 3. But looking at the back row, Rafaela's picked up a rib injury, so he might not be fit. I think we got to look at bringing Dan Lydiard in there next week. Personally, that would be the one change 6. I would make. Yeah,
a proper 6. Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw something in now that's gonna blow Jamie's mind. So I would drop Faletau and I would bring in Shunza.
That's very bold. Very bold.
He's big. He's quick. He's aggressive. And as skillful and as talented as Faletau. Maybe move Faletau to 6. But I'd put Shinzer in at 8 and just go, do you know what, fella? Go cause some damage. Go wreck some people. Go and do what you do when you do it and go wild, yeah? Because he's the kind of... we were just talking about bringing young players through, yeah? And we've got this guy who, can pretty much wreck any side he chooses, and we go and have 20 minutes at the end of the game. I'm going, fuck no, give him the game. I say the same with Costello. Yeah, no, I would say put Costello to start. Yeah, and if it starts going wrong for Costello, then bring Anscombe on. Yeah, so you've got a safe pair of hands. With Anscombe, it's safe. Yeah. So
playing devil's advocate for what I was saying then. Maybe we should, instead of looking to old-timers like Lydiard, he will be fantastic. He's a good player. But instead of looking to those players, your Priestons, your Lydiards, and what have you, maybe Wales should just roll the dice and go, okay, Sam Costello, have a crack, start it. Chris Chunza, have a crack, start it. Ben Carter. There's a lot of talk about Alan Wynne. You saw that tweet from the Beast about him. I mean, whether you agree with it, whether you think that's something, whether you think, I know, but maybe it was a bit unprofessional to call out another pro like that. But does he have a point? Maybe he does. Maybe we should be looking now to bring through the likes of Rhys Davies and Ben Carter. Maybe this is the way the Wales need to go now. Just go with youth. Just so, go on, lads, here's your opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that's the bit we've been so scared to bring these guys forward. I had an argument with my local club. That's why I'm not part of my local club anymore. But I had an argument with them. I had an argument with them a long time ago because they were very, very focused on the first team. Yeah. And I was struggling with under 11s or under 12s or whatever. And I'm saying in 10 years' time, my team should be your first team. We get this right, and in 10 years' time, my team will be your first team. Yeah. But you have to look at these guys now, and you have to develop these guys now and give me these things in order to develop them to get them to the first team. They go, oh, no, our first team's doing really well, and they went up 3 divisions in 3 years. Yeah. That's exactly what Wales have done with Gatland. They're going like, we've done really, really well. We look at us, we're top of the world, we're number 1. Yeah, but everything underneath that, there's no dedicated kind of channel to come through. Do you know what I mean? It's like, great, Costello's come through and Shunza's come through. But Costello was developed in Leicester. Shunza's developed in Exeter. Rafael was developed in... Where was he developed? He was developed somewhere in England. Yeah.
He's Leicester, isn't
he? He came through Ospreys, though, didn't he, Rafael? He did come through the Ospreys Academy, I think, Rafael.
But
and then he went to Leicester. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He came through Ospreys, I think.
Yeah, like Josh Adams came through Scarlet Academy, left.
Yeah, went to Worcester, yeah.
Ruth Sammet came through Cardiff Academy, left. And this is what I'm saying, is we've got so much talent there, but we're doing something wrong below that first one, and it means that we haven't got enough players to now go, okay, Argentina, who do we roll a dice with at prop? The only player that I can think that I would want to bring in is Rhys Carey. and
he's not in the squad. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I can't blame the players that are there. I can't even blame the coaches. I blame the system. But we're in a game against Argentina, and we want to, and we know that they're going to bring a big pack. And we go, right, let's stick some big boys on there. And we're looking around and we're going, oh, Samson Lee's still injured. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
That's right. I think key positions are, full-back, outside half. I'm still not convinced with George North outside centre. I think he's probably the best.
He went really quiet.
But after the first 10 minutes he was everywhere, and then we give him the ball and they just went right, closing down. But we haven't got an out and out 13 to put there and go right, go do a job. Second row, I thought actually second row in the first half was really good. I think Beard and Rowlands, I'd stick with that. I say, that's actually starting to really develop into a good second row. And then the rest of the pack, you do start to struggle. Like I say, if Rafael is out, we keep talking about this, we just seem to develop outside open side flankers. All right, okay, so then you're going to put Tipperick in at 7 after he's had a bit of a shocker at 6. Okay, who'd you put at 6? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, that's what for me. I'd put Shinzer in at 8, and I'd move Faletau to the flank at 6. If Rafael is fit, I'd put him at 7. If he's not fit at 7, I don't know. I'd call Thomas Young into the side, and I'd go fella, come wreck him. That's what front row. I am not good at Scooby. I never got involved with those boys. The closest I would get involved with the front row is looking at their arse in a scrum. I tried to steer as far away from the front row boys as I possibly could, so I wouldn't be in a position to go, he looks good and he doesn't, other than you have a gut feeling from on the pitch. But I wouldn't know who to put in there. I genuinely
Rodri Jones. Let's give Rodri Jones a chance. Oh, why not? He's in the squad. He's fitter than, Gav Thomas, so give him a chance, maybe, But you are right. We should be having the likes of Reece Carey in there now. We are relying on too many. You're saying about outside centres and centres. You got Maxwell in. That would be an opportunity. I always said the autumn is the ideal opportunity to blood young players and give them their opportunities. But we are relying on old timers again. And, we do need results. But, you are completely right.
So Mason Grady trained with the squad.
He did, yeah.
I felt a little bit for Maxwell in, because Mason Grady coming through. We've only played him a couple of times. And Maxwell has been delivering for Cardiff. And I thought that's a bit of a slap in the face for all the efforts. Because against Edinburgh, they brought... Mason Grady and Maxwell in, and he's not there.
There are talented young centres in Wales, mind. Grady, Llewellyn, and now you're knowing that the Dragons. He's trained with Wales. He's one for the future. Joe Hawkins for the Ospreys. Now he's in the Wales squad. The talent is there.
Okay. Johnny Williams. Johnny Williams was running over everybody until he got injured. Johnny Williams was just
he's all right.
trouncing people.
I'd be a bit like standoffish of having Anscombe after. Do you remember he charged down? He made a good account of himself, but he charged down that ball and
Barrett,
the pace he had just wasn't that sort of pace, isn't it?
That's an example why I mean with Anscombe, right? If he was fully fit, he would have scored that try. He would have had the pace if he was, but he wasn't fully fit. And therefore, he didn't score the try. You just knew he wasn't getting to the line.
Since his nasty injury,
I don't think he's fully fit. I think that's part of the problem. But fullback is a concern. We've touched on it already. I don't know what we do there.
Point out that moment of the game.
I know what we'll do.
No, you're right. That was a big moment, because Rio was right outside him. It's a shame.
What we'll do. This will sort the fullback role. No probs at all. I'll get a pair of boots. I'll put my lucky pants on, I'll put my lucky hat on, and I'll go and stand at fullback, boys. I will do that for the nation, and that will sort all of our problems. I'm convinced the lucky hat and the lucky pants is what caused Saturday's problem. Guaranteed.
Why didn't you wear your lucky pants anyway? When you told me you didn't wear them, why did the bloody hell did you wear them against the All Blacks of all teams?
I know. I think I was complacent.
Shockingly.
Massive cock up.
The worst of it is I saw them in the drawer in the morning. I got the shirt out. They put the shirt on the bed. Yeah. The dog nearly ate the shirt. Genuinely, the dog nearly ate the shirt in the morning. Yeah. I got a lucky berry, which, in all honesty,
a lucky berry.
Yeah, I think we've won twice. Every time I put this lucky berry on, the wife goes, "You do know that the lucky berry is a pile of shit." So, and then I got
you have an honest relationship.
Yeah. But then I've got one pair of pants, which must be, I got more than one. I got one pair of lucky pants. I got one pair of pants that are like branded Wales, and they must be about like 20 years old. And the wife's like, they have to go. They've got to go. Look at them. They're disgusting. They've got to go. These are my lucky pants. And I saw them in the drawer on Saturday, and I don't know why. I went, those will go with the shirt. I'll put them on later. Who changes their pants 10 minutes before a game starts?
You clearly, but
well, no, I didn't. That was the problem. Right. So let's have some predictions for Argentina game. Because we all did so well last week.
We do every week.
Why do we do this? Yeah. Me and Reese must be sitting there going like, what the fuck's the point of this? We'll do it just because, but fuck.
Yeah.
Just like give up.
That's kind of my thing, getting things wrong for predictions.
Well, I'm going to predict. I'm going to predict an Argentina win, because that seems to be the way my predictions go at the minute.
Be negative. Yeah. It works when you're negative. It
does
for me anyway.
Yeah, you had a lot of reaction on Twitter when you started being positive. People like,
I know, it doesn't. Yeah. Someone thought my account got hacked when I posted it. I was positive. I was like, no, my account did not get hacked. I was trying to be positive, and where did it get us? A thumping, basically. So I'm going to be negative about it again this week. I'm worried about this game. I'm not gonna lie, I am worried about it. I am going to this game as well, and I was looking forward to it, but I am going to the game, yeah. I can honestly see Argentina turning over Wales. I watched them against England today. Okay, they weren't brilliant. It was quite an ever-strewn game. But, I'm worried about them. I'm worried that if they impose their power up front, if we start giving away penalties, Boffelli is just going to kick. He kicked 25 points today from the tee. Every time England gave away penalties, Boffelli was punishing them. And we got to really watch our discipline, because he's an excellent. Dragon scrum half Gonzalo Petrano played the full 80 minutes, was excellent. So I hope he starts. That'll be good, because if he's in the team playing up against Rowlands and Dyer, his Dragons teammates, that's going to be a nice dynamic to it. But I am worried about it. I think Argentina have got what it takes to beat Wales. Like I said earlier, they've gone to New Zealand, they beat them there. And they've gone to England and they've beaten them at Twickenham. They can play on the road. There was this myth before that they don't travel well, but Michael Cheika is a fantastic coach, and he's doing such a good job with Argentina. They're dangerous. So I'm going to say Argentina by 7. There you go.
Hey.
So I'll tell you a quick story. What's the kicker's name?
Feli.
So my wife, as he was taking a kick, and the commentator goes, Raffelli, and my wife goes, "Oh, Preselli, it's a boy from Preselli playing." I go, "No, love, no, it's not." So go on, Reece.
Does your wife listen to this podcast?
The fuck, I hope not.
Mine does.
I'm sleeping downstairs. So go on, Reece. What's your prediction, mate?
Oh man, I feel. All right.
You were going to be positive here, weren't you? You go. I'm still
going to be Wales by 2. Wales by 2. You hear me first. Wales by 2.
You've dropped it from 5.
Confident, Davies. Confident prediction.
Yeah.
I reckon I reckon we'll shock them a little bit. I just reckon it's going to be one of those matches where we get to the last 5 minutes and you're just screaming at the telly because it's like there's 1 point in it or something stupid like that. I reckon there'll be a high-scoring game. I'm going 30-29 to Wales. No, 30-29 to Argentina. Because that way I can't lose then. Yeah, because if Wales win, then I got it wrong. But hey, Wales won. But if Argentina win, well, yeah, I obviously knew something. So yeah, I called that one. So yeah, 30-29.
We got front up, haven't we? We really need to front up. Pivac talked about. We talked about muscling up. Did we go muscle up? And when you said that, I was thinking, well, what have they been doing in camp for the past 2 weeks? So why were we so soft against New Zealand? Exactly. So we've really got front up because they will be aggressive, they will be physical. I don't think it's anything to fear. I don't think it's anything to fear from Argentina, but in the same way against New Zealand, South Africa. But they are a very dangerous team, and you underestimate your peril. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough game. Selection's got to be spot on as well. So
But I will be wearing the lucky hat and lucky pants. So
please do. Thank God. Please do.
We're already better than we were last week. So
good selection.
Yeah. That's what he needs to do. He needs to go round with the mic before and go, right, I've selected you here, boys, because you're the best in Wales. And we're going to put you on the park and we're going to give you some lovely new tops and some lovely shorts. But do me a favour, make sure you've got your lucky pants on, because otherwise the whole thing has just gone to shit. And that's the team talk he needs to give. I might send it in.
Get those lucky pants on, please, for the love of God. We need to start winning. Get them on.
Yeah, we need something somewhere, don't we? Absolutely. Right, gents, we are nearly at the end of our time once again. Right. And if anybody doubts the quality of supporters in Wales, this is the place to come and get this is what supporters in Wales really think. But I may actually be at the game as well on Saturday, Jem. I've got an open day with my boy in Cardiff.
Oh, there we are then.
On Saturday morning, so I might stick around and get some tickets. But fingers crossed it's going to be a decent game, and fingers crossed we're going to come away with a win. I tell you, you said it's the hope that crushes you.
Hope that kills you. Yep.
Yeah, I'm feeling that already, and it's Sunday night. I'm already.
By Saturday, I'll be certain. By Saturday night, it's a certain win. It'll be about 10 minutes. It'll build through the week.
Yeah, good. All right, gents, have a good week. Enjoy your rugby, and nice. No doubt we will catch up again after the game on Saturday. All the best, gents.
Yeah, nice.
Take care. Bye now.
Okay, so you join us for part 2 of this week's pod. So, Carwyn was being a bit feeble, like I said at the start of the first bit, and he ventured west to Cardigan and didn't make it back in time. So, Carwyn, how are we, my friend? How are we doing?
Well, my drink of the week, firstly, it was a lemon sip. I feel bloody awful, but I don't think it's anything to do with the alcohol consumed on Saturday.
Of course not, mate. Of course not. No.
It didn't touch the sides, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, going straight into the game. First, I thought we had a good team out. I did. It was the team I picked as well. Apart from Owen Watkins 23, I didn't think we'd have 23, but anyhow. Going into the game, when New Zealand had those first 2 tries, I thought, oh Christ, here we go. But beside that, my first bugbear is George North not passing the ball to Zammit in about 20 yards of space. That's basic. Any other team in World Rugby would have passed that ball. And the space, you give Zammit that space, there's 9 times out of 10, he's in. So that's the starter. Tompkins making his break. There was no support. There was no vision. There was no aggression. Now, do you blame the coaches? Do you blame the players? The players are picked because they were meant to be good enough to play. And some of them were not up to the task. I thought Ken Owens did a good job, even for a Scarlet. Tipperick, to hold on to that ball. he missed a tackle on the blonded back row there for New Zealand, which is untips like, he very rarely misses a tackle. Alun Jones should have been carrying the water on, not his boots on. I didn't think he was up to the task on Saturday. He missed a couple of tackles. Great servant to Welsh rugby, and he's an Osprey, and I think he's been a great servant to Welsh rugby. But it is time to move on. They're getting older. I don't care how many caps he's won. It is time to bring in the fresh blood. We've got to get boys in ready for the World Cup. Because otherwise, we are in for a hell of a season, and not in a good way.
Well, that's a hello, Carwyn.
Yeah,
that was how are you doing, Carwyn? So I was about to say, there's Carwyn, and with Carwyn this week is a guest for this week is Carwyn's nephew Owen. So he kind of stole my thunder there, Owen, but he does that a lot, mate. So, welcome to the show. So, you were at the game you were at the game on Saturday. What was the game like, mate? What was the atmosphere like inside the stage?
Sorry, before Owen starts, I'd like to say it could have been a sober perspective, but it wasn't because Owen likes his beer. So crack on.
I mean, I'm probably a little bit more upbeat about it than Carwyn was. Agree. The first 10 and the last 20 were dismal, and ultimately that was the difference in the game, really. For 40, 50 minutes, I thought we competed really well. We put them under pressure. We probably had as many opportunities in the 22 as they did. The difference was New Zealand scored every single time they went down there, and we didn't. I thought the set piece got away from us towards the end as well. Scrum was a bit shaky throughout, but line-outs, it was quite refreshing in the first 60 that we were actually winning pretty much every line-out ball. How often can you say that about Wales? And then in the last 20, it just, when we made the changes, it went back to scraps again, and we stopped getting the opportunities then, and that's probably why we didn't answer to any of their points.
Do you think we were aggressive enough?
It's hard to see when they're 100 meters away from you and your eyes aren't working. But I think that's something that we lack as a nation anyway, as big ball carriers. We've lacked that for a long time. We don't have like an Ellis Genge or an Ardy Surveyor who you can just be reliant on to make those big punchy carries.
I mean, what a beast he was.
Yeah.
Ardy Surveyor. I mean, what a player.
Yeah.
But then, see, we were talking about this last night. It's that side that we put out was pretty much as good as it gets. Yeah. There were players that were rusty and not fit. But then you look at, who we could have brought in, and you go, don't know. You're really, really struggling. And I think that's where we suffer against some of the bigger nations, is they have got a lot of strength in depth. And sometimes we haven't even got strength. Our front row just isn't up to scratch. And Ken Owens had a cracking game, and he really put himself about. You could see he was hungry. He wanted to make a point. He was just everywhere. He was tackling. He was carrying the ball. He was doing. I thought he was probably our best forward on the pitch. But then he goes off. You bring Elias on, and it just, like you said, the line out went to pot. The scrum was all over the shop, and you just don't see him around the pitch. And I'm like, I don't understand why we cannot produce players in depth. We've got enough at the top, and then as soon as you come below that top level, you're having to put players like Alun Jones on for 40 minutes, where I see Alun Jones more as a coach now already. He great on the pitch, great for motivation, but actually on the pitch, just not up to scratch. And I think it's a sad, not sad reflection, it's a realistic reflection of where Welsh rugby is, that for 10, 15, 20 years, we focus so much on the national team and we haven't focused on anything beneath it. And now we're getting exposed because we don't have anything beneath it. We lost Halfpenny in the warm-up, or in the captain's run the day before. and we haven't got a fullback to put in place. Carwyn had this habit of saying stuff, right? We did the pod last week, and Carwyn said on the pod, and we did the pod late, so it was the Thursday night or whatever. And then on the Friday, so on the pod, Carwyn says, what happens if we lose Halfpenny? What happens if Halfpenny can't make the match? And then sure as shit, Halfpenny gets pulled up in the captain's run. Like, Carwyn, shut up. You're not allowed to talk anymore.
You're right, but you could see that with Halfpenny as soon as the squad was announced. It's like, why are you having him as the only out and out 15 in the squad? It's ridiculous. Yeah. He's not played for a year. He's a bit past it. And he's been past his absolute best for about 5-6 years now. I was saying to Carwyn earlier, like, surely you've still got to have someone like Johnny McNichol in. I know he's got defensive frailties, but at least he's offering something in attack, which, when you even Anscombe's a great distributor, but he's not 15. He's not possessing any running threat from there.
And you could see where New Zealand were weak were on the outside of 13. Because every time we attacked the outside of 13, if George North had been able to slip the ball, there was space on the outside of 13. Where Rio Dyer scored his try round the outside of 13. Yeah.
The cracking try it was too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And nice and simple, straightforward training ground stuff, but they attacked outside shoulder of 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem you've got when you've got a fullback there who's quick and aggressive and they've got like instincts. Yeah. You look at Liam Williams, he's got an instinct of where to hit the line. And before that ball is coming out of the 10's hands, he's on his way. When you got Anscombe or Priestland, they're so used to playing at 10 that by the time the ball is on its way, they're sitting there and they're going, oh, I wonder where that ball's going. I wonder what's happening. So when you need them to be on the outside shoulder of 13, they're not there. Yeah, they're kind of like half a second or a second too late. And that's not, a criticism of them. They're 10s, they're outside halves. So that is what they're going to do. They're just not that, they haven't got that instinct that that's where I'm going to hit the line. But we have got players there that probably could fill a 15 position. Like you said,
So I would say, who do you think will be 15 against Argentina? I'm thinking, if they do mix it up, I'd have, and Adams coming back in, I'd put Zamet full back, Adams and Dyer on the wings. I don't know if you discussed last night, like your selection for the week ahead, but
yeah, we did. But Rio Dyer's played 15 more than Zamet has.
But he's not big enough, as we found out. What was the reason he was picked over Keelan Giles? Because he was bigger. Didn't really help today, right? When he scored that try.
I think this is the problem that we've got is it's that second level down. There's just nothing there. We focus so much on producing a first line 15, and we did the cryo chambers, and we did, we bulked them up and this, that, and then we kept talking about, we need 2 people in each position, 3 people in each position. It's just not there. It's just not that quality in depth. That I think if we had our first 15 available for every game, we could do a job. But as soon as you take that first 15 away, we struggle.
Well, it showed, like, when we were talking earlier about why the hell did they bring Tompkins off? He was one of our best players.
Yeah.
And as good as Owen Watkin, I think he is, and he's played some good games where he's solid. He's not got that X factor.
No.
He hasn't got it, unfortunately. And I just don't know where we go, because it's time to stop messing with combinations. It's time. And I thought Thomas Williams wasn't up to it on the weekend. He had one good run down the wing. There wasn't much support. But he was too slow to rucks. He was too slow. And everything I saw New Zealand do was dynamic and with aggression, and we didn't front up.
Well, I think that's what we were saying last night, was the main part of it comes from fronting up in rucks and mauls, and having a front 3 that will actually put a wall there in front of you, and so that that allows your second rows and your back rows to go and do what they need to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I saw. Sorry, yeah, I think I saw one of Simon Thomas put something online, and I completely agree. He said in the summer when we played South Africa, we took them on up front and we played and we were aggressive, but we completely reverted away from that game on Saturday. You know, we stood up to the South African pack, but we just were annihilated by the New Zealand pack.
I think some of that comes from the way Pivac wants players to play. Yeah, it is about looking at what's in front of you and playing what's there. Yeah, controlled chaos. Yeah, don't let the opposition.
Well, that didn't happen, did it?
No, but this is my point. Yeah, is that we're trying to play a game with high skill, high fitness, intelligent players, but then we got to remember that we've just spent 12 years under Gatland saying, no, we don't want intelligent, clever players. We want players to play to a strict system, to play to a pod. Yeah, you go, right, when the ball is here, you do this. And then after that, you do this. And then after that, you do that. It was so structured, players didn't need to think. Yeah. And it worked for us because the players that we had were not capable of thinking at that level. Yeah. And they didn't need to think. They just needed to go in, hit, be aggressive, maintain the
make
ball.
Friends and alienate people.
But it is, and I've played in those systems. And when you play in a system where it's all very, very structured, it's great when it's working because it's like, right, you don't need to think. You just go, right, I'm here, I'm left-hand side of a rock, I'm left-hand side of a rock, ball's going right-hand side of a rock, right, I'm going back into 13 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to process or look at what's in front of you and go, this is what I need to do. Yeah. Now we're in a game where we have to. We have to look at what's there and play that game. And those players are just not doing that,
No.
I think the other thing that we lack on that front as well, though, if you want to play that high speed, high tempo, get the ball wide rugby where you've created chaos, it all starts with big carries and not just a big hit. That leg drive after contact, putting defence on the back foot, and that's what we lack is that basic raw ingredient to get.
There's no trying to get through those rucks. There's no hammering through, smashing people, getting the ball, getting that turnover. And there was loads of that by New Zealand. And I saw it again. I think Argentina were flying into England yesterday. They were absolutely smashing them into England. As soon as they saw that ball and they got that space, they were in through. It didn't work out every time because the ref was penalising them quite a bit from what I could see, but they weren't hanging about. Like, it was consistent urgency with their game, and I think that's what Wales need. But so, did you guys pick a team last night?
Didn't pick a team. We did our predictions for this weekend and where we felt things were, who would need to change. So we consistently. We was very democratic, and we all voted Tipuric out. So even as an Osprey fan, you can fuck off, mate, because Tipuric's gone.
Well, I got to be honest, he might have scored a try, but he didn't have his best game. And I think he's only played a handful of games, and you need people who have been on form now. So Jack Morgan's been on form. Revel was quiet. Tom Reffel there, I thought he had a really quiet game. Where maybe Lydiate could come in and do a number, but then again, he's getting on. So we do need to give these boys exposure before the World Cup. So I'd keep Morgan, I'd keep Revel there. Number 8, I thought Toby had quite a decent game, and I'd keep him. Second rows again, I'm not sure there was a reason for taking Beard off, but Will Rowlands and Beard. Front row, God, I don't know. I thought Francis was quite quiet.
Francis is quite around the field. Francis's job for Wales is make the scrum solid.
Yeah,
but we went backwards in the scrum.
Yeah. So would you bring on Rhys Carey and have Nicky Smith there, or Gareth Thomas? I thought Gareth Thomas played well. Ken Owens again, stick with him, and have Bradley Roberts on the back.
But Rhys Carey's not in the squad.
I know, but they should bring him in. Why not? He's 20 stone beast, and he runs, and he's got good hands.
I think this is where the problem is that we haven't got players who are they can do one job, but not the other. So they're either a strong scrummager or they could run the park, and we haven't got somebody that can do both jobs.
Yeah.
Ken Owens is probably the exception to that, but like you say, Ken Owens, he's come off 12 months injury and
fresh as a daisy. Fresh as a daisy.
But then you do just get that feeling like he did go down once, and you thought like, oh shit, I think he went down something to do with his back, and you're like, if his back's gone again, that's it. That's end of career.
But I was saying again to O'Neill, I think with the autumn test, I don't place much stock on them because the championship teams, they've come off the back of a tournament. They've had all this time together. We've had, 10 days together as a squad? So, and they always say, oh yeah, Wales get better as it goes on. But come the Six Nations, we have a lot more time together going into it. And
a World Cup. A World Cup, we always seem to play better in a World Cup because we have that time together beforehand,
Yeah, exactly. So I don't place much stock, but I think we'll just nick it against Argentina. I can't give you a scoreline. I just think we'll just edge it.
You fanny. It's because you said about halfpenny last week. That's what it is, and you're too frightened to go.
25-22 to Wales. There you go.
Well, one thing I said about the back row, was I would bring in Shunzer at 8 and move Fallet out to 6. I would drop Tipbrick, if Reffel isn't, apparently he's got a rib injury. But
all right, okay.
If Reffel's not there, I'd put bring in Jack Morgan. But I would then put Fallet out at 6, and I'd bring Shunzer in it to give us somebody. The guy's 6'6" and 20 stone, and he's playing at 7.
He is a good player.
Yeah. We need to get that guy on a pitch and running with a ball at big boys and working out what to do now. So by the time we get to the World Cup, he's comfortable and he's confident there.
Build around him. Yeah, there's a couple of players like him and Dowie Lake. Build around those guys.
Yeah. I think that's what we need to do now is we need to go and say, right, okay, this is 12 months out from a World Cup. We should be quite comfortable now. We should be in a position where we're just fine-tuning through the autumn internationals, and then maybe the Six Nations should be the point where this is the side basically.
Yeah,
and we're just nowhere near that now. So what we did discuss last night was, is it coaches, is it players, is it structure, is it something bigger than it, or what have? So what's your thoughts on that? Coaches, players, regions, bigger than that?
At the end of the day, the players are selected, and they're not going to be selected if they're not good enough. But it's the player, and it's the same with football, all the sacking the coaches. But it's the players who go out on the pitch and do a job. Now, whether they're playing to the coaches, it's a joint coaching plan. It's not just the one guy goes, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we do it. Everyone buys into it. And they're big boys, the senior group players, they don't agree with it. Say, actually, this hasn't been working for us, or this works for us. Let's do this route. You can't say it's one or the other. At the end of the day, there's no I in team. They're together, and they play those structures or whatever. But if the players aren't up to it, get them out. If they're not following the plan, if they're not playing well enough, don't select them. You've got to be ruthless.
Yeah.
And again, I think it does rub off on the regions. Each region plays their own way, and then they've got to come in and play Wales' way.
There's a couple of questions that we had sent in about, is Jonathan Humphreys up to scratch as a forwards coach? We got Robin McBride, who's now coaching Leinster and doing very well. But we were a lot more, we were a lot harder when he was coaching. We talk about defence and we talk about Sean Edwards, but we were playing a very different system then. So I know it's hard to say, and it's different teams and we're playing different opposition and all of that kind of stuff, but. Yeah, it's a difficult one to say how do you solve this? I think of it like a jigsaw. You know, we know what the big picture is. We know what we want to do. We know how we want to do it. But you've got to slot all these little pieces of the jigsaw into place. And some of them are, grassroots rugby. Some of them are your local club rugby. Some of them are regional rugby. Some of them are the players. Some of them are the coaches. Some of it is money. Some of it is just that money that we don't have the investment in the game that they do in Ireland and France and England, you know. And if we want to change that, then you need to change stuff outside of rugby that affects the way we play rugby. Schools, colleges, all of this stuff, they're all a little piece of that jigsaw that go to make that big picture. So I think changing one thing and saying, let's change the coach, that's more influential. But if you're doing a 500-piece jigsaw, you've got to have the other 499 pieces all in place. But
I think for me, one of the biggest pieces is the academy system isn't up to scratch. If you look at the lads who are coming through in the next generation, 90% of them are coming through English academies. And they're not all growing up in England. They're growing up in Wales, going to Wales schools, and then going to English academies. And, there's clearly that difference there. I mean, I don't know that much about the Welsh academies, but, what's the coaching structure there? Is that up to scratch? Because, we're still reliant on that old generation, and we've got this big gap in the middle. And we haven't got that quality coming through. And there's definitely the quality there in terms of kids. They're just not being nourished properly in the academies, I think.
But also, I'm just going to read you a tweet that Lee Jarvis put out, which I think is a cracker, because I think it applies. So he said, Argentina's 60 cap rule working really well. Then blokes play all over the world at the highest level, then rock up and deliver that performance. So it doesn't matter where you play.
But then I think that the 60 cap rule is more about money, and we can't go and see players here, there, and everywhere, and it's about the national game supporting the regional game, and having players at home week on week that can,
But is it working? Is it working because of these WRU contracts, right? So these players only play a certain amount of games in their regions. Well, actually, it's the region, and it's all right. They both pay their wage then, but the regions, the people want to see the regions doing well.
Yeah.
And if the regions aren't doing well because some of these players are missing every few weeks because of the rule, it's not working. And then that in turn isn't rubbing off onto the national team. Confidence breeds confidence, and there's
that's
none
what
at regional level.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying about the jigsaw, where you took academies and the regional side, and it's all one little piece of that jigsaw that everything needs to be put together. And we discussed last week the thing about Rob Butcher and the WRU reform and things like that. I think somebody needs to get hold of the WRU now and go, right, this isn't working the way we want it to work, and we need to do something big now for the next 10 years. Yeah, like Welsh football did. The FAW, they've never had the three feathers on their badge. They've clearly identified these are the type of people that support us, and they've gone, right, we'll really butter up our supporters and give them what they want. And they've gone in and they've developed a system that produces a lot of players at local level that then filters through into higher sides. Now, they don't have the professional game to manage in the same way that the WRU does, but somebody needs to get hold of that WRU structure and go, right, this is wrong and this is what we need to do. And that rugby structure goes from grassroots rugby, school rugby, colleges rugby, academies, semi-pro, community game, the pro game, the national game. That's all, they're all part of the same system. Different parts of that system will need to be managed differently, but they all need to be looking at that same jigsaw and go, this is how my little piece fits into that jigsaw. Because at the minute, I don't think they do. I think they're looking at their own jigsaw and they're going, You know, this.
Yeah, well, I think they've lost a few fucking pieces along the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
and maybe even the picture of what we're building. You know,
yeah.
we don't really know anymore what we're trying.
It's always the same with the WRU. Always the infighting. You know, there's always something distracting from the game, from the bigger picture. You know, until that's fixed. You know, I'm not interested in the politics of the rugby. I'm interested in these boys need to start manning up on the field. And I don't care what coach tells me, they're trying their best, they're really working hard, you know, they're not working hard enough.
Well, I think I see both sides of that. I think, you know, no player goes onto that pitch wanting to play badly.
No, I agree, and I agree with that.
Sometimes you just don't have a good game, you know, but when 10 of you are not having a good game, you're going to look like you're playing shit, you know?
Yeah. Because I think we could have caused New Zealand problems the other day. We had the opportunities and they weren't taken.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we were, and in a similar way to the Scarlets, we were 2 passes away every time from, you know, giving them an absolute hammering. That's what it's like, isn't it? We're doing all the hard work, we're making the space, and then that one pass.
Was that when the Scarlets played Zebra?
Fuck off, Carwyn. But no, do you know what I mean? It's with that one pass away from, like you said, George North makes a space, and instead of slipping it to Zammit, takes contact. Yeah. And we're not that far. There was most of the New Zealand tries came from one missed tackle. Yeah. One missed tackle, bang.
They were clinical. They were absolutely clinical.
But that's the level, you know, that they're playing at, and that's the level they need to compete at. You cannot miss those tackles. You know, Alan Jones missed one, Nicky Smith missed one, Tipperick missed one. That's 3 tries, bang, gone. You know? And at international level, 3 tries is usually enough to win a game.
Game over.
But
there we are.
Right.
Anyway, so what was your prediction and Jamie and Reese's prediction for the weekend?
So, bearing in mind we were at the end of a couple of pints of beer, I've forgotten. I think we were a bit nervous about predicting wins. I think I predicted an Argentina win. I think it was 30-29, I think I said, purely based on if Wales win, then nobody's going to give a shit what I predicted. But if Argentina win, I can go, well, I predicted this, you see. So you know, that's the way we're going.
Yeah.
I think we've all said it's going to be a close game. But
well, like I've given you a scoreline now, so you know I've got my head above the parapet here.
You are not allowed to talk about the Welsh squad between now and Sunday afternoon, mate. You're not allowed to say, what if?
When's the team named?
It's usually Thursday lunchtime, isn't it? So,
okay.
Yeah. But you're not allowed to say...
Pull his hat out the bar, pull the rabbit out the hat now for maybe if he selects it tomorrow.
So, Owen, what's your prediction for the weekend, mate? What's your score prediction?
I was really impressed with Argentina against England, and I think they've had a good summer. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I think they'll probably win it by about 6, to be honest, and I don't think that's a bad thing for Wales. You know, it's honestly, you know, it's one of those historically Argentina have been a bit of a shit side where you kind of expect to beat them. They're not like that anymore. You know, they are up there with the best in the world. And, you know, I don't think it's disastrous if we lose to them. I really don't.
Although if we beat them, at least we can say at least we beat Argentina and England didn't.
Yeah. Which will definitely help with the rugby club next week. But yeah, I think for me the most important game of the autumn is Australia. You know, they're who we're playing in the group stage next year. That's when we've had 3 weeks together and we're missing a few boys. I think that's the game where we've really got to measure ourselves. I think beating Argentina is a bonus.
Well, let's not mock Georgia because we're playing them in the World Cup as well, you know?
Yeah. As I said, we don't really... Hopefully.
Yeah, so we all thought it was going to be a really tough game. Everybody was saying it's going to be a close game against Argentina, and like you said, they're not the walkover that they used to be. They've got some big boys up front, and if we don't match them up front, it's going to be embarrassing.
A long day.
Yeah. So, fingers crossed, we may actually be able to. We always tend to pull out one game during the autumn series where we just, right, everything's good now and all the pressure's off and everybody's happy, and then we'll have another game that's a little bit iffy. If we can have a decent game against Argentina, Georgia, and Australia,
happy days.
Then the New Zealand game gets forgotten, doesn't it? And in a way, it shouldn't be. That New Zealand game has highlighted issues that we've got as a team, as a nation, as a system that we need to deal with. We may be able to paper over the cracks with Australia and Argentina, but cracks are still
like any team in the world, we can play rugby against.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If France, England, Australia, South Africa, it doesn't matter. We can match them, beat them on our day.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't happen. And I don't know this mentality. I just don't know. If we played them last, would it have made a difference? I don't know.
Yeah, we always seem to play New Zealand first, don't we?
Yeah,
when we're cold. But there we go. Right, gents, thank you very much for your time. Owen, nice to meet you, my friend. Good to see there's another Scarlet supporter in Carwyn's ear. The more of us, the better, as far as I'm concerned. But
but he does live and play rugby in Bristol, yeah?
Yeah, but he's
got an English accent.
We can't all be perfect, mate. We've all got to cross the bit somewhere.
But he's been Welsh all his life.
Yeah, I know the feeling, mate. My boy is exactly the same.
But I think I bought him his first Welsh rugby shirt. Which is why his father bought my daughter an English rugby shirt, which soon went on the bonfire.
Best place for him.
Absolutely, we are.
Gents, have a good week. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll catch up again next week. All the best.
Cheers, all the best, mate.
Cheers, gents. Ta-da. Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope you enjoyed it enough to come back next week and listen again. So please do subscribe, rate and review the pod, as it really helps us on most of the platforms that we appear on. You can keep the conversation going on Twitter and Facebook by searching for us WRAP, WRRAP, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. We'll be back next week to do some more of the same. We hope you'll come and enjoy us, and in the meantime, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.